raising a woman's interest through unavailability. Well, the first question is what really creates interest for a female? What creates interest are the following things: mystery, paradox, absence, notoriety, fame, and fortune. Let me dive you a little bit deeper into each of those aspects. So, mystery. How can you appear mysterious to a woman? I'll give you an example. For example, if I'm out and a woman meets me dressed like this and we ended up chatting, eventually she's going to say, well, what do you do? And then when I say, oh, I run a technology company, that's mysterious. Why is that mysterious? Because I walk like a ball player, talk like a hustler, got swag juice dripping all over the place. She's going to wonder, how in the hell is it that A, you're a CEO, and B, you're in technology, which is a field primarily dominated by white and Asian nerds, right? So that's a mystery. Now she wants to understand. How is it you look like this and talk like this, and you're smooth as suede, yet you're a tech CEO? That's a mystery, and that will drive interest. Another one, paradox. Well, what is a paradox? A paradox is when you have two conflicting truths, things that don't seem to add up. Like, for example, if you meet a woman in college and she says, oh, what year are you? And you say, oh, well, I'm in my last year of grad school. She's like, how are you in your last year of grad school? You're only 22. That's a paradox, creates interest. Now she wants to know your backstory. As human beings, we are the stories that we tell people. Our stories are our personal ways of marketing ourselves to the outside world. In this case, it's the story you tell to a female, and she's going to want to know your story. And you're just going to give baby girl some breadcrumbs and make her walk down that path that you've designed, picking up those breadcrumbs, gobbling them up, but she's going to remain hungry to know who you are because you're giving her breadcrumbs, not a meal. Let me dive further into interest. What is interest and how do you create it? Absence. That's the topic for today. Unavailability, meaning not being there. But it's not as simple as some of these guys would say. I saw a cat made a 6-minute video on how to raise a woman's interest through absence. I already know he's not sharing any real game because it's just 6 minutes. Ask your girlfriend. 6 minutes don't do the trick, you dig? So I'm going to give it to you long and strong. So hold that thought on absence. Another thing, notoriety. Women love notoriety. And if you're on Netflix, there's a documentary called Get Me Roger Stone. Roger Stone was the political advisor for Donald Trump, real bad guy. And Roger Stone has Stone's rules. One of his rules is it's better to be infamous than to be nameless, which is to say it's better to be known as a famous bad guy like Al Capone than to be nobody. Roger Stone is a very Machiavellian mind. So notoriety is something that'll definitely get you in the game. Like, for example, where I grew up, there were a couple cats who were hood legends. There's one dude named L3. He was known for doing all kind of crazy shit. There's another dude named CK Boo. I ended up getting into beef with this particular guy. He was known for doing crazy stuff. Like, for example, one day he ran over a guy in a car, one of his enemies. When you have stories like that going around the hood, people are interested in you. You have notoriety. Women will circle around that. They want to know if it's true. They want to know if you're really that guy. Fame, that's obvious. I don't need to explain that. Bitches love Drake because he's Drake. Fortune, I don't need to explain that either. Women and men attract to money. So let's talk about absence. Here's the number one piece that they forget. If you meet a woman, you spit a little bit of game at her, you exchange contact information, you both go on about your business, right? You took her on a date one time, then after the date, you go absent, according to what these pickup artists are telling you to do. Is it really going to affect her if she's a woman who has her shit together, has a good job, good income, good life prospects, she's an attractive young lady? No, she's going to keep on rolling. Why is that? Absence only means something after you have impact, meaning you've already established yourself in her mind that you're an important person. She already cares about you to some level. Then you utilize absence to make her more interested. Let me tell you what these pickup artists really should be talking about. When they say they're driving up interest through unavailability, what they really need to be talking about is you guys not being needy. That's what drives the woman away. It's not the fact that you're available that drives her away. It's the fact that you're too available. It's the fact that you're needy. It's the fact that you're damn near harassing the bitch. Have you guys ever seen that cartoon with Pepe Le Pew? You know, the skunk that would like grab the bitch and just start kissing the bitch all over the place? Let me know if they know what I'm talking about. Holla at your boy if you know what I'm talking about. That Pepe Le Pew cartoon. Oh, these the youngins. They're going to have to Google that on Looney Tunes. That's old school. But anyways, when
Yeah, man, LOL.
absolutely. So when you're giving the girl too much attention, you're boosting up her self-esteem. When you boost up her self-esteem, what happens? Well, she doesn't need you because she feels like she can get any guy out there because her self-esteem is through the roof. Or more likely, you're being annoying because you're reaching out to her too much. Or you're showing that you have little value. Why might you have little value if you're being needy? Because you don't have anything to do. You're bored. Women want that which is sought after. He who is sought after is busy with other women, busy with business projects, busy with family, busy exercising, busy doing many things. Now, here's the trouble. A lot of these pickup artists, guys, they'll tell you these fake ass rules. One cat said, well, look here, fellas, if a woman texts me after 9 o'clock p.m., I ain't gonna respond. I'm gonna be unavailable until the next day. And then when she texts me, I'm gonna just say, oh yeah, I ain't get that. I just saw it this morning. Well, think about that. Do you think women are fucking idiots? Some of them are. But for the most part, if you tell the young lady she texts you at 9 p.m. in your time zone, you didn't see the text till the next day, she knows that you're lying. Every lie you tell is going to degrade your esteem in her eyes a little bit more. Think about it. If you were really an alpha male, would you lie to a bitch about that? If a bitch texts you at 9 p.m. and you didn't respond till the next morning, do you feel the need to lie to her and say you didn't see it? Or you would just tell her, oh, hey, what's up? I'm responding to you right now. This is when I want to respond. You don't need to lie. Just tell her, I chose to respond right now. And here's another thing. You don't need to pretend to be unavailable when you actually are available, because if you're really living a rich life, the women will tell you how they view you. Often, women and men tell me, oh, hey, Marquette, I know you're busy. Can we talk at some time today? Well, why do they know I'm busy? Because my life is very clear. Because I have products and services that are on the market. You can Google my name and see news articles about what I'm doing. You can Google and see Fletch offices expanding into the Midwest. You can Google and see Marquette Devon Burton, Global Good Fund Fellow. You can Google Marquette Devon Burton, Johns Hopkins alumni honoree. You can see that I'm busy, so I don't have to tell them. I can assure you the least credible thing you can do is try to tell someone how great you are. But when you have third parties, especially institutions that are vouching for you, that means something. Let me get back to this lesson, you dig? We digging straight in. And feel free to write those questions down if you have them. Bridget will be recording them and she'll drop them into me. Were there any other questions before I carry on?
No.
Okay, fantastic. Let's get this game then.
You did have J5 say he was listening to alpha male strategies until he found you and he dropped him.
Church. And I don't say that to hate on anybody. I love to see people out there being successful, but what I cannot stand is to see people providing misinformation, especially if that information is telling you guys to be someone that you're not, or if that information is telling you to lie. I don't want you to be a liar. And there will be times you'll have to look a woman in her face and tell her something other than the truth. But you don't need to engage in petty lies, because that's going to degrade you in your own mind, and that's going to degrade you in front of a bitch. What kind of a man has to lie to a bitch about seeing her text message? I'll tell a bitch straight away, yeah, I saw your text message. I didn't feel like responding. Yeah, I saw your text message. I wanted to respond when I have time to actually engage you. Yeah, I saw your text message. I didn't feel like talking to you. I was talking to somebody else. Yeah, I saw your text message, bitch. I just sent you an emoji thumbs up. That's all I had to say, bitch. Shit, you don't need to lie over petty shit like that. To me, it's beneath you and it's beneath me. So we're going to spread this real gospel. You dig? Okay, so let me see what else we got to give to you. And if they have some questions, feel free to drop those in. Oh, here's another thing that I want you to understand. What I'm giving to you is called game, knowledge, strategy. Your goal as a player is not to play games, it's to use game. When you're playing games, you're setting yourself up for failure because a man should be esteemed enough in his own mind that he doesn't have to do dirty tricks to win a bitch. The problem is when you really think about it, the type of female that's going to fall for the kind of tricks you guys are learning from these random people, those are low quality women. And the truth is, I'm encouraging you to go for the best. I want you to get a woman who's making more money than you're making. I want you to get a woman who comes from a strong family. I want you to get a woman to where if you fucked up and accidentally skeet in the bitch, you're gonna have a situation where she doesn't want to have the baby because she has her own fucking goals. I want a situation where you accidentally bust a nut in the bitch. She's reasonable enough to ask you, what do you want to do? She wants to work that out with you. I want you to have a bitch that's high quality enough to that if you accidentally nut in the bitch, you don't have to like commit suicide because you know that she's at least reasonable enough to be a good mother, reasonable enough to earn her own money so she doesn't have to rape your ass for child support for your whole life. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying go for quality. Why? Life is limited, my brothers. Why would you waste your time messing with a raggedy hoe when you can get a phenomenal woman? You dig? I'm giving you high-level game so you can reach for the mountaintop. That's what I really want you to do. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I call myself the saint in the center because I know while we're reaching for the mountaintop, sometimes we got to play in the mud. And sometimes you might have to use a raggedy hoe just to get a nut off. But the truth is, you don't want to engage in low-level game and low-level tricks. You need to give these bitches this high-quality shit I'm giving to you right now. Is there a question?
J5 said amen, even though I'm in that situation, shaking my head.
Oh, you're in that situation, what, you got a bitch pregnant or you dealing with some low-level hoes? Talk to me.
While you're waiting on that, Stefan Torres says there such thing as being too unavailable.
Oh, absolutely. Let me give you an example. And when I give examples, these are real life examples. You'll notice a lot of these folks don't give you examples because they're not really dealing with a volume of hoes. They're not familiar with female nature. They don't have experience. What's so funny? Here's the important thing. I had one young lady who was 21 years old, doing a dual degree in civil engineering and physics, right? So she's a mathematical brain. Now, in her case, made the initial contact. I knew that the physical attraction was there, gamed her up real strong, so I knew that the personality and mental attraction was there. I knew I would have to invest very little into maintaining her. Now, here's the thing. With a young lady like that, if you go absent on her, that's not going to benefit you. Here's why. She's a gorgeous girl. That means people are spitting game at her constantly. She has new opportunities coming in the door all the time. And when you feel abundance, you don't have to search out for one man because men are thirsty. So that's number one. Number two, she's a math brain. We all have different personality orientations. An art brain, they're not timely. They show up places late. They're more creative. They're less responsive. They're more whimsical. They just go with their feelings. A math brain, accuracy. They're on time. They like responsiveness. They like rules. They like clarity. They like directness. They're more rational. So when I'm dealing with this young lady who has a math brain, I like to respond in a timely fashion because my personality, I like to get responses in a timely fashion. And so her and I are vibing on that. She's not the type of bitch to get a text message and respond 2 hours later. She's the type of bitch to get a text message and respond straight away. So with her, if you use absence, it's not gonna work in your favor. That's why I tell you, these guys don't have the breadth of experience to really give you game to apply it to a lot of different women. What I'm telling you is you have to study each individual woman and reach within your pimp toolkit and pull out some motherfucking pimp tools. Pull the bitch's card and use the right card on the hoe. You understand what I'm saying? So in her case, absence would not be effective. Now, another thing, you can only leverage absence after you've already established yourself with a female. Then it means something. For example, Bridget. Bridget sees me regularly. If I pull some absence on Bridget, it's gonna have a strong impact. You understand what I'm saying? Further, let me give you a better tip than absence. Here's a real gem. Consider this. I say rather than being absent, be brief and end on a high note. How many folks we got online right now? Because this is, how many?
45.
45, good. Gentlemen, pull your pens out and live by this shit right here. Be brief and end on a high note. This is what I mean. Say you start text messaging with a young lady. Ask her some meaningful questions. I actually have a list of great conversation topics you can ask a young lady. I should post that for you guys one day. I think I might put it on Patreon. If I didn't, I'll put it on Patreon. But ask her some meaningful questions. Really get in her head, learn her background, figure out what she's interested in. Never talk about long-term relationships. Never talk about what does she want to get out of you and her. Never talk about that. Just talk about her. Get in that conversation real good until you get to a point where you know she's really engaged. You asked her a question, she gave you a long ass answer. She's very much so into the conversation. And then end that shit. You end that shit on a high note. You end that shit when she least expects it. You walk into the party as soon as the party gets cracking because you're there, then you leave. What you're doing is creating hunger. So now that you've been texting with her today on Friday, she got real excited and real into it. You ended that motherfucking conversation. You could text her again tomorrow. And I tell you what, she'll be waiting on it. Why? Because she knows you're a great conversationalist. She knows you have very little time. So she's respecting your time and she's waiting on you to reach out to her. You see what the difference is? So you don't have to be absent, just be brief and end on a high note. So the last thing she remembers from you is being a very interesting, engaging man that she wants to hear more from, she wants to see more of. Because you have to whet her appetite. You have to stimulate the appetite. And when you come back to her, you're not gonna fulfill the appetite, you're gonna give her a few snacks to nibble on. That is the key. That's how you do that shit. That's a golden rule.
Okay, you had a non-truth and AK Omar donate.
I appreciate that, Anon-Truth. Omar, what's up, man? I ain't heard from you in a while, brother.
AK Omar said keep up the good content, and the
Thank you.
non-truth had a question.
Talk to me.
So his question was, is building a social circle / crew essential for economic success?
Mhm.
I seem to have trouble maintaining long-term friendships with others due to my lack of patience for people.
That's a great question. Bridget, I actually didn't bring an ink pen. Would you grab an ink pen for me real quick?
You can have mine.
Are you
I'll go
sure?
get one. Well, I
Okay.
can get one too.
All right, got it. So that's a really good question, Anan. Let me point out the fact that generally speaking, people who are high achievers are introverts. So if you're a male and you're introverted and you're a high achiever, which means birds of a feather flock together, there are fewer high achievers than there are average people. Yes, it'll be harder to maintain those relationships that you need. You should always, at the very least, keep a loose network, meaning people who know your name, who you can call on if you need something, to make sure that they will be acceptable to doing you favors. You have to make sure that you're regularly doing other people favors. You're maintaining a good reputation. But to be more direct to your question, yes, generally speaking, you do need a team to make the dream work. Me personally, I love women. I'd rather keep a lot of women around me. Women are more reliable. They're more detail oriented. They're more concerned with doing a good job. So I'm more likely to want to keep a bunch of women around and manage them to achieve my greater goals. But generally speaking, yes, you absolutely do want to keep a team of folks. You must collaborate with other people to be successful. And you also need to make sure that you're rendering service regularly and maintaining a relationship so people know who you are, people remember you, and they're willing to work with you. Is there anything else?
There was a question, King Cap said, talk about how you funded your business when getting started, but not, and someone else kind of seconded that question.
Talk about funding my business when getting started?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be very brief on it because it's something that most people won't be able to duplicate. When I first started my business, I was literally still living in the neighborhood that I grew up in for the most part. I went to university and then moved back to LA. And I knew a couple cats who had been getting money since I was a kid. And I used to hustle with them. And we kind of took a fork in the road. I went to university and they kept hustling. Well, low key, I almost wish I would have kept hustling because when I got out of university, I had $0 and they had hella dollars. And so I basically went to these cats and said, hey, look, you guys know who I am. This is what I want to do on the business side. They said, oh, absolutely. And these motherfuckers handed me a tremendous amount of money in cash. You dig? All hundreds, like this much. I don't know if you ever held bands, but you can imagine about how much that is. So that's how I funded my business. And once we had that seed capital and I built what's called an MVP, a minimal viable product, meaning the most feature-bare product that people can actually use and get value out of, then once I could demonstrate that we had something, then I went to institutional investors, formal angel investors, meaning like old white guys who have serious bread, and then they started writing me significant checks. But that's how I started my business from the jump.
AK Omar said he emailed you, by the way.
AK Omar, I did actually get your email late the night before last. So I'll get that kicked out to a few folks on the marketing side. And AK Omar runs a marketing firm, folks. So if you see him in there and you have a product or service you want to get out, I do believe he does messaging and branding and marketing for major companies. So do check him out. And guys, with this community, I don't charge anybody to do anything. If I see you shining, I'm proud of you guys. And I really want to see you all successful. And remember, in life, if you can help someone, if you can speak well of someone, do it. It will only be to your good, especially if it's someone that you're familiar with and you want to help see them win. So I do encourage you on that one.
There's a quick question.
Yes.
I believe it's Zaid Hoda. How do you reveal to a woman that you're dealing with other women without her feeling insecure and thus losing interest?
Zaid?
Yeah.
I think that's one of my Patreons. Shout out to you. So you really want to, first off, you may have seen this in one of my previous videos. I graduated from Berkeley in 2009. Before I graduated, I had a good friend of mine named Dante Dixon. He's now a doctor of psychology. So he got a PhD in psychology from Berkeley. I feel bad even saying that he's a player on the internet, but man, this cat is so player. And we used to obviously talk to a lot of chicks in college and, measure up our stats and talk through strategies. And we always had this one thing that we would disagree on. Everything else in the game we agreed on. We had different methodologies, but we respected the other players' approach to the game. But the one thing we always disagreed on was the following. I was a true believer in telling women the truth, always. He was a true believer in the opposite, never telling women the truth. And I can tell you that now, when we started that debate in 2006, so it's now 14 years later, I have 14 years worth of data of me telling women the truth and 14 years worth of data of him lying to these hoes every second of their lives. And I can tell you that recently I figured out that with females, you generally speaking want to tell the truth on everything you can tell the truth about, except the fact that you have other women. Unless you are about to be in an Islamic polygynous marriage or a Mormon polygynous marriage, and it's going to be very clear that you have multiple women, I would say you do not want to tell them the truth because it will only deride the quality of your bond with each individual woman. And I say that after having told women the truth for over a decade. You want to keep them isolated and in the dark. I am a true believer of that. And this is something based on experience, not on instinct. So that is my true answer. Don't tell them hoes a goddamn thing.
Blue Lotus just donated and said, Quet, you have any advice on how to overcome picking up females with all this social distancing?
Blue Lotus, I appreciate the donation, and I think COVID-19 is a beautiful challenge to a player, and I appreciate you sharing that question because I've been waiting on that question, actually. I was actually at the donut shop last night asking myself, how are niggas cracking a bitch with this COVID-19? So I think it's a very funny thing. Number one, I never recommend the dating apps. I am firmly against the dating apps because it creates extra steps, meaning that, for example, say I was out at a social event and we're out at a bar, even though I don't drink, or we're out at a basketball game, whatever the case is. You meet a woman right then, you've immediately established a level of rapport. You can tell by her reaction if she's instantly attracted to you or not. If you got the game and you look all right enough, you can build the rapport up. If you're really slick, you could even convert that night into a one-night stand, or that could be the start of a long relationship. When you start off on the Tinder or the Plenty of Fish or Bumble, all these technologies, what's your number one goal? Your number one goal is seeing the girl in person, right? When you go out in the world, you already see the girl in person. So the first question you're asking me really is, in the face of COVID-19, how do you meet a girl in person given the social distancing? Well, the pimping is all about being slick. One thing I would recommend you off the rip is the following. The way you know you will definitely have to engage with women today is if they're working, right? For example, every time I go to In-N-Out, they got some cute chick that's probably about 19, 20, 21, 22, working at In-N-Out. She's like taking the orders at the street or she's taking the cash at the window. Throw a little bit of game in her ear. Last night I went to go grab some donuts. There were two cute chicks that I wouldn't talk to because they're younger than I would want, but I could have sat there and spit game to them all night if I wanted to. They weren't wearing masks, weren't wearing gloves, they weren't tripping, right? A lot of young women are not really worried about COVID-19, so they'll give you some airtime. And if you want an example of are women really concerned about COVID-19, Google Dr. What's his name? Dr. Ratty. There's a guy in, I think was it Kentucky?
Oh, yeah.
There's a doctor in Kentucky that choked out a bitch because there were 5 chicks together. He told these hoes, y'all need to be social distancing, and they weren't. So he went and choked out one of them hoes. If you want a funny story, check that out. It's really sad, low key.
Kentucky doctor.
Yeah, Kentucky doctor. But I say that to say, meeting the chicks, you're gonna have to meet them at work. They're working at restaurants. They're working at food places. They're working at grocery stores, essential services. So that's number one. Or obviously you can meet them online. That's not my specialty. If you do meet them online, I always recommend that you transition it into a way that's a little more human, meaning that you get them into Instagram DM or you get them onto WhatsApp DM or you get them onto iMessage. Why? It's a little more personal. You can exchange voice memos. And I think that the voice conveys more humanness and the voice allows them to get more familiar with you. And you have a little bit more of a texture to your personality, you see? So that's something that I'm going to recommend there. Then you take the game as it would be normally. But remember, the important thing about COVID-19 is you can't take a chick to a date. So a lot of these women are going to want you to have your own place. So if you don't live alone, you're going to have a lot of struggles during this COVID-19 because a lot of hoes, they just want to lay up with you. These hoes on Tinder are so scandalous, man. I got on there one time. I sent 4 text messages to a bitch. The bitch is talking about, hey, let me pull up. You got a bottle? What we drinking? So like sometimes it's a layup if the chick is attracted to you. But here's the thing. If you don't live alone or have your own place, you're going to be out of the game. So I'm going to summarize this with 4 points. Number 1, think about where you're going to meet her, whether it's on the apps or it's in person. Number 2, make sure that when you're exchanging the remote communication, it's high quality. I like to use voice memo. It's more human. Number 3, make sure that you have your own spot to take the chick to. You heard me? So I said that's pretty much all you need, man. Go from there. If you have any more specific questions, hop on my DMs on Patreon and we can talk a little bit about it. I'm going to carry on since you haven't slid me any questions. Another thing to remember is the following. Are women the hunter or are women the hunted? How is it a guy's an alpha male telling you that you ought not be the hunter? Ludicrous, really. When you're hunting, you just have to hunt in a way that shows you got a refrigerator full of pussycat. You just hunting some more pussycat because you like to hunt. The important thing is that women like to be pursued at a level. You have to use finesse when you're pursuing the woman. If you go absent on a great many women, they will not pursue you because they want a masculine man. Masculine men pursue. Feminine women wait for you to talk to them. I cannot tell you how many times I've been out in the public and women position themselves to get in my way so that I was almost forced to talk to them. I've gone to restaurants. I've gone to like cash registers like to purchase something at Starbucks and seen a bitch bully her friend out the way so she could ring me up and she could take my money so I had a reason to interact with her. A female will put herself in your way so you have to talk to her. Why? So she doesn't have to talk to you. Because the truth is, women are not confident to the point where they're going to spit game at you. It's actually quite uncommon. When I really think about the women who spit game, it's really mostly been the Latinas. Like when I'm in Latin America, a Latina chick could talk up, she'll speak up on it. I remember one time I was in Cancun and 2 Mexican chicks came and hollered at your boy when I was in the middle of a fucking jog. Like the bitches had me stop and tried to throw their game at me. So what I'm saying to you is that women are not inclined to be aggressive. They're not inclined to be game spitters. They're not inclined to be hunters. You're the hunter. Get your ass to work, buddy. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. Yes.
We have 2 questions. You're at 32 minutes.
Okay.
We have 58 people on here.
58?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get this game.
Do you want the question?
Talk to me, baby.
Okay, Happy Bart Simpson said, do you have any good books on pimping? If so, what are they?
I bet there are some good books on pimping. I personally haven't read any of them because I don't need any of them, right? So, like, think about it. It's like, say you were talking to Michael Jordan. And of this shit right here, I am Michael Jordan. If you were talking to Michael Jordan, you might say, hey, Mike, do you have any good books you've read on basketball? Probably not. Don't need them. So what I will tell you is the following. I can give you the few names of some real life pimps. And I usually don't like recommending people that I don't have a personal relationship with, but Gorgeous Dre, I don't know if you guys know Andre Taylor, Gorgeous Dre, real pimp.
Someone just actually brought up, apparently there's a book called As a Man Thinketh by Andre Taylor.
As a Man Thinketh, I don't think it's by Andre Taylor.
Well, I just heard that.
Yeah, I don't think it's by Andre Taylor, but it is a great book. But Gorgeous, and if it is by Andre Taylor, it's not by the pimp I'm talking about. Gorgeous Dre is a real life pimp. Rosebud, 2Bs, is a real life pimp. And you could go to Rosebud and get a double dose of that pimping. These guys don't have huge followings on YouTube because they're not technically savvy. They're not marketing guys. They're real niggas who used to put chicks on the blade in the golden era of pimping, 80s, 70s, and they have a deep well of game that they can give you. But what I will tell you, if you're not trying to put a chick on the blade, you might not need to talk to a pimp, right? Because a pimp is going to give it to you real, and they're going to tell you how to pimp. So you want to be careful with that. That's some dangerous knowledge, you dig?
Okay, we had Neck of the Woods update it, just donate it. He said, I finally get to donate to you, do more live streams so that I can support this channel.
I appreciate that. And also, folks, I do want to make sure that we share our Cash App and our Venmo next time because we much prefer that it all come through Cash App and Venmo because I am in a personal war with Google because they are censoring a lot of my videos. I didn't start Patreon because I want people on my Patreon. I started Patreon because Google won't let me post certain videos on Google, that is on YouTube. So eventually we want to remove them from all of this.
2 more questions. One's from Master Me who donated. Why is my one night stand ratio higher than my courting ratio?
Well, hey, some people would kill to be you. Me personally, I never loved the one night stands because every now and then, if you really want to get freaky, there's only so much shit you could do with a bitch you don't really know, right? You really got to keep it strapped up. So I know you ain't going in there raw. I hope you ain't giving the bitch the sushi if it's a one night stand. I cannot tell you why your one night stand ratio is higher than your courting ratio, but I can make a few inferences. Inference number 1, if you have good number of one night stands, that means women generally find you attractive straight away, which is a good thing. Secondly, if you're having a high number of one night stands, you're encountering women that are more liberal, less conservative. It's more likely there's alcohol involved. It's more likely you're meeting them at bars, at clubs, and these kinds of places, or in college. If you're more interested in courting women, you have to go shopping at the appropriate places. In a club, you shop for a whore or a video hoe. In the grocery store, you might find a woman who can actually cook. At McDonald's, you find a bitch who can't cook and likes to eat fast food. So you need to go to the type of places that have the type of woman that you want. If you want to date a physician, you might be wise to go to a medical convention. Really think through the kind of woman you want and the kind of places she would be and go to those places. I think that's pretty elementary stuff. In terms of your ratio of one night stands to courting chicks, if you really don't value the one night stands, don't do it. And this is just man advice. This is not about pimping and being a player. I'm just saying, really value your time and know what's important to you. And if you really don't want one night stands, don't waste your time with it. Don't waste your time being in the kind of places that'll lead you to that outcome. The beautiful thing about COVID-19 is that it makes people aware that death is around the corner, because it might be. And now that you see that, you need to use your time more valuably. Me, I always use my time like I'm about to fucking die. I work my ass off, or I think my ass off. You'll see I made a video called Live Like You're Ready to Die. I made that shit like a month or two before COVID came out. So the simple advice to you is go and pick apples from apple trees. If you want a woman who's more conservative, more worthy of being with in a long term relationship, go to places where you will find such women. More likely at a high tier university than a low tier university. More likely in a wealthy neighborhood than a low income neighborhood. You get the sense of what I'm saying, brother.
Okay, Action Jackson said my ex left me for her ex a month, and a month later she came back to me trying to talk, and she gives me the vibes that she wants me back. What should I do? Should I talk to her? And yeah, I'm trying to smash.
One, you should definitely fuck that bitch. Let me tell you this. In my lifetime, I've passed up more pussy than most niggas have been offered. 50% of the pussy I regret passing up. So I'm gonna tell you, fuck that bitch. Do strap up though, and don't even fuck her good. Fuck her so you get a nut. And once you get a nut, tell that bitch to hit the road. Because guess what? There's no need to look back over the ashes of a burned bridge. And hey, bruh, you've been there and done that. And I tell you what, and the pimpin' to tell you, if a bitch leaves and a bitch wants to come back, she needs to bring you a motherfucking stack of money. That's called a choosing fee. Because as far as you're concerned, she's a brand new bitch. And if she want to be with the pimpin', she needs to make an offering. She needs to make an offering, just like in ancient times. When you would go to the temple, you would put an offering for the gods. And that's what the bitch needs to do if she wants to come back to your altar and worship you and be a part of your stable. She needs to remember that she has to earn that spot. Don't let her just walk back in. Let her come in, get this dick, kick her to the side if she doesn't have an offering. But I can tell you for sure, if you ever had to dump her, you ever had to end the relationship, don't start it back up because it has no hope. My friends, remember this. If it didn't work the first time, it won't work the second time. I promise you that.
Okay, Sean B just donated and said any specific game for Bay Area women.
Sean V, I appreciate that, bruh. Sean V's one of my folks who subscribe at www.patreon.com/The Saint and the Sinner. So shout out, bruh. Oh, you know I've been in the East Bay, man. And not only that, Sean V, you from the Bay Area, so I could really talk pimping with you because you know about East 14th, International Boulevard, you dig, San Pablo Boulevard, you dig, in Oakland. So a real pimp can really run down every street they've ever pimped on. So if you really know what I'm talking about in the gay area, shout out to you. And if you've been in Ohio, you've been pimping on Sullivan, in Columbus, you dig. So anyways, that's just a little bit of pimp shit. Do your research. For all these motherfuckers who say that they really been pimping, if they can't tell you the street they put a bitch on, they ain't really been pimping. Anyways, now, talking about Bay Area women. I lived all through the Bay, East Bay and Berkeley, lived in San Francisco, which if you got bread, that's where you want to be. I had a couple hoes in the Oakland Hills. So we did it all, man. Even had some hoes in Marin. You know what I'm talking about, Sean. So number one thing about Bay Area girls is they're often very liberal, extremely liberal. So I can tell you, if you ever want to pop off a threesome, that's kind of the spot that you want to do it, right? I don't know if you saw my previous videos. I told you about them two hoes that tried to set me up for the threesome. Basically, when I went to the bathroom and came back to my room, these hoes was treating each other like a motherfucking buffet, a 69, a dinner for two. And I just sat in my chair and ate some fucking cashews while these bitches was going super hard on each other. You dig? So that's number one. They're very liberal. So generally speaking, what you want to do with liberal women, you want to mirror them. The good thing is that they assume that their intellectual stance and their political views are commonplace. So if you agree with everything that they say, they're going to think that you really believe that. And because liberal women are so opinionated, you don't have to say very much. So if you keep it cool and go with the flow, you'll generally be all right. And once you build that rapport a little bit, then start disagreeing with them a little bit because it'll show them that, okay, we've built rapport, but he's still a man. He's not letting me like set all the ideas. He's not letting me set the agenda, right? And then next thing you know, you're going to be wearing that ass out. The truth is, whether you're dealing with a woman in China, South Korea, South Africa, South Dakota, South anything, they're pretty much all the same. Women are trust animals. They want to be able to trust you. They love being surprised. They like mystery, meaning that if there's some mystery about you, they want to find out more about you. That'll be something that's enchanting to them. But the goal is for you not to talk too fucking much. I don't know what you look like, but when I was younger, my auntie told me the following thing, which was very true. She said, Scooter, I was a little boy, they called me Scooter. She said, Scooter, you're a pretty boy. Your problem will never be talking your way into some pussy. Your problem will be shutting the fuck up so you don't talk your way out of pussy, which is to say, for the most part, when a woman sees you, if she decides to give you airtime in a conversation, that means you have a chance at fucking. Your goal then is to be agreeable enough and kind enough and good enough of a listener to get that pussy. And once you get that pussy, then you can say whatever the fuck you want because she doesn't have any more cards to play. She's pretty much blown her whole deck. Now the power's in your hands, folks. Any other questions for
Yeah,
you?
we're at 42 minutes and there's 3 questions.
Okay.
So Coco Reed, a female, said,
Okay.
how can a very good-looking and successful woman narrow down all the men that try to get at her and find a high-quality man?
Oh, she talking shit. I like that. I like that. Well, love, I appreciate you joining the channel. And I'm going to repeat the question back, make sure that we have it correct. How can a good looking and successful woman narrow down and pick the right man? Is that what you're saying, love? You saying you got the money game strong and you fine? Shit, you might have to bang my line. But on a serious note, what you really want in a man is the following. Number one, you want a man who is a man of integrity, meaning that he's honest. He's not making up shit or pretending to be someone he's not. That is extremely hard to find, and that you can only discover through conversation. That's number one. That's a tough one. Number two, if you're financially stable, generally speaking, you're going to want a man who is ambitious and comparably financially stable or has the potential to earn more than you. Why is that? Because if you're really a hustler, baby, you're not going to want to deal with a slacker now, are you? Right? You're going to want to have respect for your man. You're going to want to be able to look up to him at some level. He needs to be on your level or higher. Why? Because women are hypergamous. Hypergamous means that women will operate with a guy on their level or higher. Men are dogs. We'll operate with a bitch above us, below us, to the side of us. We don't really give a shit. Now, a good way to be able to sort that man out is to look at his accomplishments, what other people have said about him. What organizations is he a part of? Where did he go to school? Is he a part of a country club? Is he a part of any other meaningful organization? Like, for example, I'm a Global Good Fund fellow. These are a lot of people who do very important things in the world in terms of altruism, donating a lot of money to good causes. I say those are a few breadcrumbs that'll give you a sense of if you're dealing with a good man. But the most important thing I can tell you is always positioning. You want to get the right man, put yourself in the right places. Put yourself around money. Put yourself around intelligence. If you have more specific questions or a follow-up question, let me know. Otherwise, you can DM me on patreon.com/thesaintinthecenter. I really appreciate you tuning in, love. And if you hear anything that's real, go ahead and type in church or hallelujah so these fellas know, hey, he's talking that real shit.
Okay, you had a couple comments on the vest. Someone saying you should sell those.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I always forget to do this. I forget to promote stuff because I have so much shit I'm doing. But as you know, I got the custom travel vest, the Saint in the Center, you dig? And because I'm player, you know I got to go with the floral pattern lining, you dig? And I always put this in here because when I'm traveling, I got to keep my passport. And that's how much I travel. I literally just happen to have my passport in here because I wanted to make sure that the pocket is the right size. And while we're talking about commerce and finance, if the young lady is still on there, you can tell if a motherfucker is making boss moves by the nature of their conversation, by their real life, the things they really do. So for example, when I woke up this morning, I had a voicemail and I really enjoyed the voicemail. It was a voicemail from UPS saying that we got a shipment from Hong Kong and that shipment is worth more than $3,000. So I need to get your EIN and your email address so we can pass it through customs. That's boss shit. That's the kind of phone call I love having. And when you want to tell a bitch that you're unavailable to drive up her interest, be unavailable doing real things that are meaningful, you dig? In that case, it was 500 pieces of a hardware coming in so that me and my business partner can sell it and make a buck. That shit is fun. I enjoy it, but it's my real life. And I'm really busy with stuff like that. Fellas, what I'm encouraging you to do is be real. So when you're unavailable, if you want to drive up a woman's interest by being unavailable, be unavailable doing things that are real, pursuing your dreams, pursuing your goals. And here's the thing, a real woman is going to check up on that, meaning that if you're unavailable all the time, doing what? She's going to want to know, what were you doing? So if you're unavailable and you've been writing a book, she wants to see the book. If you're unavailable and you've been running a company, where the fuck the employees at? Where's the product at? Get some shit done. That's what I'm really telling you is like, don't try to make the girl think you're high value. Be high value.
Okay, Michael Montana said how to pull the rug underneath a chick with a large social media following.
This is a hugely important thing. And the good thing is I can give you a very square, I shouldn't say square, I should say I can give you a very far-reaching perspective on this because of the following. One, I'm old enough that I was alive before anyone cared about social media. I'm young enough in that I have social media and understand it. Further, I'm a technologist. I literally run a company that produces a form of social media. So I understand it on a technical side. And here's what's more, I actually have engaged in a significant amount of paid marketing. So I understand the purpose of social media. Now, in business, we consider social media to be of little value when you're paying for marketing dollars, which means that pretty much people can be famous on social media and still broke. You can find people who have 100,000 followers on Instagram or 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and they're broke, which is to say that it doesn't mean shit if she has a large social media following. In the case of a female, Michael, what it probably means is that she's showing her ass and she's doing a bunch of exercise videos, basically wearing tights and objectifying herself sexually. Generally speaking, why waste your time? Here's why. In America, there's about 340 million people. About half of them are women. About 30% of that are of the fucking age. If you got 30% of 340 million women, that's plenty. Don't waste your time going for the chick who's making herself an sexual object on the internet to multitudes of men. That's just too much work. And at the end of the day, if you really get her and fuck her, do you want your girlfriend displaying herself like that to random men? Probably not. And if she's comfortable displaying herself like that, I'm pretty sure she got a lot of miles, got a lot of bodies. So why waste your time? I always say, go for what is really going to benefit you and fit into your greater life goals. If your life goal is to fuck you an Instagram model or to parlay her Instagram fame into something else you got going, go ahead and do it. Me personally, have I slayed chicks who have significant Instagram followings? Yes, I have. But the thing is, they came at me. Chick that I met at a gala in Washington, D.C., she came at me. And then I realized this bitch had like 200,000 Instagram followers. You understand what I'm saying? But when we were at the gala, I was the man. Like I was getting an award there, right? So it was like in real life, she's like, oh, you're important in real life. You see what I'm saying? So if you can put yourself in front of her face, get her to respect you, make her chase you, that would be ideal. But hopping into that bitch's DMs, you're going to be one of 1,000. What else we got?
We have Drug Hours is also on social media. Said, what is your opinion on how social media is putting women on pedestals?
It's not social media. Social media is a magnifier. It's men. It's the average male mind. That's why a pimp is able to pimp, because there's always a trick. What's a trick? A trick is a man who overvalues women and doesn't understand women, and is willing to pay for the physical of the woman, right? But a trick never gets the mental and never gets the heart and never gets the spiritual. A trick cannot get her mind, can't get her heart, can't get her spirit. He can just rent the body temporarily. So what you're seeing on the internet, a pimp can tell you very easily. It's a bunch of tricks, males, on the internet, overvaluing women who actually have no real value, meaning they have no self-esteem. That's why they're displaying themselves to get likes so that they feel better, so they feel like they have some worth. So what I'm saying is it's all a waste of time. Honestly, I just turned back on my Instagram today because I did something that I wanted to do. I accomplished a milestone in my writing of my book. So I said, let me hop back on Instagram and bullshit for a little while. Why? Because it's bullshit. It doesn't help anybody at all. Probably a total waste of your time unless you're getting paid on there.
Okay, last question. Alvaro Cemental said, is charisma an inherent quality or can it be learned like any other skill?
Undoubtedly, some people are, I don't want to say born with, but some people early in life display much higher levels of charisma than other people. But the important thing is that there are different varieties of charisma. Many people have told me that I'm charismatic. I tend to think they're right. But I've observed other people I don't consider to be charismatic at all, and there are people who like that flavor of charisma. Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, these are very charismatic personalities. There are undoubtedly some traits that everyone uses that are clearly across the board charismatic. Being articulate, that's charismatic. Making strong eye contact, that's charismatic. Smiling, that makes you more charismatic. Those are some of the obvious traits. But then there's a special sauce that some people just have. And if you ain't got it, you ain't got it. But confidence is something that is infectious. If people see that you're confident, they generally wonder why you're so confident and they assume that there's something behind it. Me, I'm really actually confident in everything. One thing that my life taught me, but boxing taught me more recently, and I use that as an example because it's something you can easily engage in. You can't go back in time and become Marquette Devon Burton and gather my experience, but you can definitely hop in a boxing ring. What you'll notice about boxing is that you have a lot of people who talk crazy. You have a lot of people today who use terms very loosely, like everyone's an alpha male, everyone's a savage. Me, I think it's hilarious because I know people who are really savages. Like Bridget can tell you, like half of the homies I got are dead because they were really savages, like for real, for real. Yeah. Half the homies I got that got bodies, they killed other people because they're really alpha males, and that's really domination. But the thing about boxing, you notice a lot of people talk, but once you get punched in the jaw, you can't talk your way through a fight. You got to fight. And one thing I notice about boxing is that the before and after of someone who talks a lot, the after version of that person is obviously a lot different. So I say that to say, generally speaking, charisma appears as confidence. Charisma is even deeper when it comes from somewhere real. So I always encourage you guys to be real. For example, I heard an internet guy literally today when I was listening to a video that was sent to me. He said, hey fellas, think about it. You want to let unavailability do the work for you. You want to let unavailability do the work for you. It's like I used to go to the gym and see people on the treadmill for hours. So either you could be on the treadmill for hours or you could just eat less. If you eat less, you let the diet do the work for you. Well, anyone who's actually in good physical shape knows that's bullshit. Here's why. Me, I can run 14 miles. Yeah, sure, I could eat less. I can eat fewer calories, and I can lower my weight through that, or I can lower my weight through running 14 miles. But if you never run 14 miles, guess what? You could have the greatest diet in the world. You won't be able to run 14 miles. You could have the greatest diet in the world. You won't have the mental toughness to run 14 miles. You understand what I'm saying? To actually have true confidence, you have true confidence when you know you can get the shit done that your mouth is talking. So like Floyd Mayweather is a great example. It's really, really charismatic when he says, I'm the greatest fighter in the world, and then he beats everybody's ass. That's charismatic. Being a winner is the most charismatic thing on the planet fucking Earth. Another thing I can assure you, I've been around a lot of beautiful personalities, and I take a little bit from each one. I knew this one dude in college. His name was Ronald Exley. He was the president of a fraternity I considered joining. I ended up founding my own fraternity. But one thing I learned about Ronald is every time he talked to you, he was smiling. It's like this motherfucker was listening to a joke that your ass had no clue about. It's like he was just about to laugh every time he's talking to you. And I was like, wow, like that's some player shit. Like this is a one smooth, happy motherfucker. I said, let me take a little bit of that sauce. I like that. I also had my OG, Kevin Cox. He's dead, rest in peace. But this was the most player motherfucker I've ever seen in my life. I noticed that he's really good at disarming people with humor. He would say some crazy shit to a bitch, and if she didn't go for it, he'd throw a joke in right after, and she'd be cool with it. Like, for example, like he would say some wild shit to a bitch, like say you're a bitch right now, and he was just talking to you. He's having a regular conversation, like, hey, like, let's go around the corner, let me eat your pussy real quick. And she'd be like, what? He'd be like, nah, but if it stank though, I ain't even really that hungry if it stink though. Like, and she like might start laughing. You see what I'm saying? It's like he would use humor and leverage that to get what he wants. And so there are different ways to be charismatic. What you really got to discover is what works for you, because we can't all be Kevin Cox. We can't all be Ronald Exley. You got to do you. But what I can assure you of is that you're remarkable in some way, and I encourage you to get the experience to discover what that is. My last remark on that, yes? Okay. My last remark on that is another piece of being charismatic and being a real alpha male. An alpha male takes care of everyone. When I go into a social environment, I want to meet everyone and I want everyone to meet each other. I like to bring people together. That's charismatic. But why am I able to do that? Because I'm a Renaissance man, meaning I have enough experience and knowledge that I can relate to people of all different stripes. When I was in China recently, met a young lady who was from Malaysia. I was able to talk with her about Malaysian politics because I knew the history. I know Mahathir was one of their most important prime ministers, and he recently became prime minister again at age 90, right? So I was able to relate to her on that point. As I told you last time, like I used to live in South Korea. I can speak a little bit of Korean. So there are a lot of different things that allow me to relate to people because of my knowledge base. That's charismatic. But the most important thing, remember this, is not how well you speak, it's how well you listen.
Okay, we are way over time. We're at 58 minutes. The
Okay.
phone is almost dead. And
Okay.
there's one question from Blue Lotus who donated.
Okay. If you have donated, rush your questions in right now. If you donated on Cash App or Venmo, do write it in and let us know. We'll answer those questions. Apparently, our video source is about to die, but we're going to try to answer these last couple questions and then hop off.
So Blue Lotus, his question was, what do you think about pimps that masquerade as tricks to get a hoe?
Oh, shit. He had to ask me that one at the end. God damn it. Woo-wee. See, that I would need a whole goddamn lecture for that. That's Miss Pimpin'. That's Miss Pimpin'. Here's why. And in one of my previous videos, actually, I told you what you have to do is you have to pimp from the start. Hi, bitch, I'm the pimpin'. Straight away. Why is that? One, a real hoe, a bona fide hoe who's really been out on the streets selling her ass, she knows a pimp when she sees a pimp. She also knows that the pimp is a highly sought after identity and there are many pimp posters. And because there are pimp posters, a hoe's instinct is to assume that you are not the genuine article. So if you masquerade as a trick and then try to flip it to the pimpin', 9 out of 9, a real hoe is not going to go for it. Number one thing, what does a trick do? A trick pays a bitch. What does a pimp do? A pimp receives money from a bitch. Those are radically different existences. So if you pretend to be a trick to have a conversation with a bitch or to build rapport and then try to flip it to the pimpin', your pimpin' will never be strong with that girl. She will never have the level of respect that you need her to have to bring you 100% of the scratch. I can assure you at some point, if by some miracle you manage to bring that girl into your stable, a real pimp is gonna swoop that bitch from you. You're gonna get knocked from that for that bitch. I can guarantee you of that. Believe that. And here's another thing. And if you've really been in this game, you know there are a lot of unspoken rules. A lot of pimps don't let their girls date certain races. A lot of pimps don't let their girls date black guys, for example. And I'm not saying that off some racist shit. I'm just saying that like in the pimp game, this is a well-known thing. Often a lot of pimps don't let their girls date black guys because sometimes there are like issues that occur. So, for example, I don't know if you're African American, but for example, if that's the case and you're African American, you wouldn't even be able to masquerade as a trick to have the conversation with the bitch to try to swoop the bitch. That's number one. Number two, if the bitch is already getting pimped by a real pimp, she's not gonna let you flip the relationship because her programming is to get paid. So she's gonna make you pay her up front. And if you pay her up front, she'll never respect you as a pimp. Because as a pimp, have I ever paid a bitch? That's ludicrous. That's fucking crazy. You understand me? So that will never work. Don't ever do that. What you really want to do, if you don't have any hoes, you want to get your first bitch. That's going to start off with you having a girlfriend type relationship with a female. She's familiar with you. She likes you. And that's going to be your bottom bitch. But she got to be a street bitch because she needs to understand that you're going to bring more hoes into the stable. And she's going to be the key to bringing in those other women. The best game spitter, the best wing woman is a woman. So you can send her out to bring in more chicks. So that's how you start to stable up, is with that first girl. But the idea that you can parade as a trick, that's a no-no, man. Think about it. You're a pimp. You don't ever want to look like a trick. To a pimp, a trick is the lowest level of existence on the planet Earth. To a pimp, a trick is like the same thing. It's like the way a mob boss would look at a rat. It's a very low thing. Were there any other questions?
No,
Okay.
we're over an hour.
We are over an hour, but I was kind of, I was slow on I started off slow. I wasn't in the zone. I didn't get through much of the lesson. I wanted to give them some value. Ladies and gentlemen, I truly appreciate you being here with me. Make sure that you do me the favor of sharing this channel, whether you share it on your Facebook, you tweet it out, you make comments on other people's shit. People are kicking out that fake game. You tell them to go to youtube.com/Marquettism to get the real. And before you get off this call, as I always say this out loud with me, because you need to know this about yourself. I am truly remarkable. I will strive every moment to ensure that I am showing the greatest part of who I am. Folks, thank you for joining me.
Christian Bennett just said, what's your Insta?
My Instagram is Marquette Devon. That's MarquettDavon. Marquette Devon. Anyways, folks, until next time, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me.